Hi, Kevin Thomas Morgan here again. This is a brief video where I'm trying to explain to people who've never done endurance training how their fight against peripheral artery disease is actually, it really is endurance training, because peripheral arterial disease is there 24/7, gradually trying to cut off the blood supply to your toes and then your feet and then your lower limbs. It's a horrible disease. However, my background in endurance training, 25 years of triathlons, including Ironman distance races, taught me a great deal. And this I learned from a number of coaches, especially Chris Hout of AIMP Ironman coaching. And the way he would coach me was pretty clever. He would send me routinely to a sports lab where they would run a lactate threshold test. Now, the lactate threshold is a measure of how efficiently you are taking lactate out of your blood, which comes out of muscles when they're working hard, and it goes into the liver where it's converted back to glucose, and the glucose goes back into your blood, and the muscles can use it again. Anyway, that is called the Cori cycle, and it's quite important. And if you exercise intensely, gradually you will overwhelm the Cori cycle if you go too hard. And so if you take the lactate threshold graph, which you can see here, the trick is to stay slightly shy of that upkick where the lactate is starting to accumulate in your blood. And so Chris would set my training based on that curve each time, and as I got fitter, it would slowly get pushed to the right. Now, how does this apply to peripheral arterial disease, or PAD? Well, the lactate threshold test isn't going to help because you're not going to get near it most of the time when it comes to walking or running. You have to use your assessment of pain or incipient claudication pain in your calves usually as a measure. So there are two ways of training. One is to push it like intense training, and then when your calf locks up, you have to stop and wait for the blood to flow into the calf that's struggling. This is a painful process, but it gets you used to the feeling of the pain of recovery from claudication, which is due to lack of blood going to the muscle due to ischemia because of blocked blood vessels. And so that's one way of training, which I used to do at first, but I was more interested in running marathons again, which I'm still struggling to do. And there you take an endurance training lactate threshold-like approach to the pain assessment. So you feel the claudication coming on, but you don't let it lock the muscle up. And you can do this by keeping your effort low, or by changing the way you move, by changing cadence. Maybe walking and running, which works quite well. So if you stride as you walk, you're using certain muscle groups. If you use a high cadence, low impact run, you're using pretty well different muscle groups, and so those other ones get a chance to recover. So that's the trick. The real trick is to understand how to use pain as a substitute for your blood lactate levels in a lactate threshold test, based upon, basically in a way, the same thing as the Cori cycle. So that's what I'm trying to explain, and that is all this video is about. If you're confused, you can write and ask me. You can find my books on inspirational self-help books, where my goal is to help people to keep their feet and to successfully deal with aging, the ultimate endurance sport. So over and out from Kevin Morgan, who hopes to get back to marathons again with PAD, and never give up. Talk to you later. Bye.